Hi everybody, Steve Griffiths here, developer of the MTPredictor software program. I just thought I'd record this because this was a great example of the MTPredictor Holy Grail trade setup in action this morning on the FTSE. And I wanted to go through this so you can see how we define the various parts of the Holy Grail trade. First and foremost, you can see I've got two charts stacked side by side here. This is the 3-minute chart in the middle. This is the 15-minute chart on the side. We have the 15-minute chart because we use this for the large degree trend direction. So here you can see we had a TS4 buy setup at this particular point in time here, which actually equates to these lows here. If I zoom out a little bit on the 3-minute chart, these lows here equate to these lows here. So at this particular point in time, which is 7 o'clock New York time, is the same as 7 o'clock New York time here. Just so we get ourselves set there. So the point being is that a TS4 buy setup came in on the 15-minute chart. That defined the large degree trend as up off this low here. So the large degree trend was up. Therefore, what we're looking for is a correction into the, in Elliott wave terms, a wave 2. So in other words, we've defined the larger degree support zone or the larger degree low on the 15-minute chart here. This is the same one on the 3-minute chart. The initial move up here is a wave 1. The initial move down is a wave 2. If I put the Elliott wave intermediate on, you can see we've got that there. So we're looking for a wave 1, a wave 2. Now the important thing about the Holy Grail trade setup is in Elliott wave terms, the most common pattern in a wave 2 is an ABC correction. And if I put the analysis on this particular TS1 buy setup here, you can see that's what we've got. So this decline down here unfolded as an ABC. Now what that means is when we look to go long here, we're not looking to go to the first target because this is a wave 2. We're actually anticipating that the market is going to rally into the typical wave 3 WPT. In other words, we're going to get a strong rally off this low. And that's the key part of the Holy Grail trade setup, is because we know the larger degree trend is up, we can then play this trade setup here off the initial correction, off the initial rally of this important low as a wave 2. Therefore we look to trade into the typical wave 3 WPT. Couple of points to notice here. First of all, the STF is red. Holy Grail trade setups will normally be against the STF color because they're very early in the new trend. That's why we use the 15-minute chart to define the large degree trend and not the STF color. We can also get some trade setups that go against us as the trade is progressing with us. For example, here we got a TS4 sell. This wouldn't have been a valid trade setup anyway because the STF was blue, but this would have been a sell. But can you see how this sell was against the 15-minute uptrend as defined by this TS4? So in other words, we look to avoid the sell setups in this particular example and look to run this TS1 buy setup right into the typical wave 3 WPT. At this point in time, we can then decide whether we want to consider the STF as being strong, and therefore whether we actually want to use the ATR stop to actually run the trade, or whether we want to come out at this particular target. Now the reason I would favor this target is if I come back over here to the 15-minute chart, you can see here's the prior pivot on the 15-minute chart, and if I put the DP on, you can see that's where the market has rallied into. If I do the same on the 3-minute chart, the equivalent pivot high is here. So I put the DP on from here, and as you can see, it actually overlaps with the typical wave 3 WPT. So at this particular point in time, I'd say because we're looking to take out potentially 6R profit at this particular point in time, this would be a good place to actually bank your profit, particularly because the larger degree DP at this level here and the typical wave 3 WPT are both coinciding at the same time. So a good place to take this. So just to recap, the Holy Grail trade setup is where we're looking to first of all define a major swing high or low, which is what we did here. We do that by using the 15-minute chart. We either use our DPs, which we can here anyway, off our 15-minute chart, or in this particular example it was a bit easier because there was an automatic setup giving us a buy setup on the larger degree 15-minute chart. That first of all defined our larger degree support zone and defined our larger degree trend, in this example up. The initial move off that low is then considered a wave 1. We then look for the initial correction off that wave 1 into what we consider a wave 2. The wave 2 should typically subdivide into a minor ABC, which is what it did here. Therefore, typically we'll get either TS1, TS3 or TS4 buy setups in this particular zone. We're then looking to trade to the typical wave 3 WPT, not the first two, because we're anticipating this is a wave 2, therefore we're anticipating a strong wave 3 is likely to unfold. And that's exactly what happened in this particular example. We use correct position sizing here to vary the number of lots, contract shares to keep our initial risk small and under control, and therefore that allows us to come out with a profit in this case which is much larger than the initial risk. In this case was approximately 6 times the initial risk. So that's why I've done the video on this, as this was a very good example of the MTPredictor Holy Grail trade setup, particularly as you can see the two 15-minute and 3-minute charts coinciding together to create a lovely and profitable trade setup. And these trade setups were the reason that MTPredictor was designed in the first place, because trading off the wave 2 into a strong wave 3 is probably the best Elliott wave trade you can do. And as you can see, this is exactly what MTPredictor is designed to capture for you.